Sejun catches the falling baby bear. He notices that it's a baby monster of the same kind he saw during the blue moon back then. The baby was extremely small and cute. The tower manager asked him why he caught the following baby crimson giant bear, and the manager also asked him to quickly send the giant bear out of the cave. The manager also informed him that it is nearby and certainly looking for it. She was a bit worried about the little giant bear, and he thought that it would be better if its mother came to pick it up. The tower manager also warns that the crimson giant bear is a genus monster, and it will eat all the food in the cave. Sejun thought that as it was a small bear, it won't affect that much, and the tower manager was overreacting. The small bear saw the honeybees and approached them. The babies of the honeybee attacked him, thinking of him as a monster. Sejun suddenly stopped everyone and informed them that he was not a monster and consoled the small bear. Sejun asked the queen bee for some honey and gave it to the baby bear. He knew that bears are fond of honey. The tower manager requested to send away the baby crimson giant bear out of the cave. The tower manager tried to make Sejun understand how dangerous it was to keep the baby bear inside the cave. Sejun thought that the tower manager was just being jealous. Sejun thought, how much can a small bear eat? The tower manager tried to force Sejun to send the bear away, but he was not in the mood to listen. Sejun had a soft corner for the baby bear and said that he will send it away when it's time. She decided to let him sleep in the cave today and send him back tomorrow. When the session was sleeping, the black rabbit and the other rabbits were angry and making sounds. Sejun was awake due to the noise in the cave. When he woke up, he saw that the baby bear ate all of the food from the storehouse. He ate all the sweet potatoes and carrots, but he didn't touch the cherry tomatoes at all. When he picked up the baby bear, he noticed that his size also increased. He forgot that he was inside the tower and here eating can cause faster growth. He realized that he should have listened to the tower manager. The tower manager then informed that crimson giant bear cubs are the greatest gluttons who can easily eat 100 kg a day as long as they have food. The tower manager then informed that the most important thing right now was to send away the baby bear. Sejun came up with an idea. He tied the crimson giant baby bear with a rope and asked the rabbits to pull it from outside of the cave. The baby bear was sad to leave Sejun. Sejun gave him some honey and asked him to go back to his mom. Sejun got a reward for completing the quest. He acquired a job skill of seed gathering. As the giant crimson baby bear ate all the food in the storeroom, they decided to eat the cherries which were left for now. After a few days, Sejun saw that the baby bear was back with his mother. The baby giant crimson bear was back with his mother. The other cave members were shocked to see this. She was afraid that the crimson bear was here to eat him. He thought that he was going to die. Now he started begging and crying while being on his knees. The tower manager then informed that they are not planning to threaten you. She was stunned to know that the tower manager could understand what the crimson giant bear was saying. The tower manager then informed that the crimson giant bear wants Sejun to feed his cub honey, and in return, the crimson giant bear will protect the surrounding area. Everybody there heaved a sigh of relief, and everyone was happy. Sejun decided to give them the honey. The tower manager then asked Sejun to get on the crimson giant bear's paw. He sat on the giant bear's paw, and the bear pulled it out of the cave. While Sejun was being pulled out of the cave, he looked at the crops and thanked them for growing well inside the cave. All this time, he was finally getting out of this place to the true world of this tower outside this cave. When he was out of the cave, he saw that there were mountains and it was spread in a large area. He saw a beam in the distance, and the tower manager informed that it was a waypoint, the only device that allows hunters from outside the tower to move between floors. Sejun thought that if he just used the waypoint, he'd be able to leave the first floor and get out of the tower. But he was curious about how he would get there. It seemed impossible for him to reach the beam by just walking. He then asked the bear to take him to the beam, but the tower manager informed that the crimson giant bear refused his request because he'll have to defeat about 3,000 monsters to get to the waypoint. And the bear says that the place was not her territory. The giant bear said that its territory is from the inside of the forest to the surrounding area of this place. Most monsters don't come to this place that leads to the wilderness. Bear also mentioned that it might be hard to protect him if he gets out of the territory. Sejun gave some more honey to the baby bear. Sejun also offered some to the giant bear, but she refused it and asked Sejun to give it to her cub. The giant bear praised the honey which helped her cub to grow well. Sejun passed the compliment to the queen bee. Sejun was shocked to know that the giant bear has not eaten anything for the last 3 days. Sejun was not happy with this information and decided to make something for the giant bear as well. He decided that it was his time to show the skills of Chef Sejun. The black rabbit fished some fish from the pond, and Sejun prepared some delicious food items using all the resources he had. Sejun made fish tomato stew which was full of nutrition. The giant bear then hugged Sejun as she was touched. She also thanked Sejun. The tower manager was noticing the baby bear from the moment he left the cave. He was worried that the baby bear would come back with his mother and attack the humans. However, it turned out differently. The tower manager thought that if that crimson giant bear becomes their bodyguard, he'll have less work to think about. Meanwhile, in the Wandering Merchant Inspection Bureau headquarters, Zerath was looking at the information of Theo. Zerath was curious to know how did he secure the number of sales. A dog assistant came inside, informing about the list of stolen items. The director asked for. She also had reports of stolen goods entering the black market in small quantities. Seems like the robbery happened at Great Landlord Grid's warehouse. Zerath said that he was a vicious landlord. Suddenly, a dog cop entered the room and informed about a report from the Inspection Bureau agent managing the passageway that a wandering cat merchant presumed to be Theo had just arrived on the 75th floor through the passageway of the Wandering Merchants. Zerath stood up and left for that place and asked to go over the list when she gets back. In the morning, the baby giant crimson bear and his mother returned to the cave. Sejun and the other rabbits were delighted to see them. It had been 3 days since she struck a deal with the crimson giant bear mom. Sejun prepared a meal for the mother giant bear. She would leave her cup in the morning and immediately go on patrol. After leaving the cave, Sejun began moving things little by little, clearing the area around the cave. However, outside the cave, the situation was vastly different from the fertile underground soil. Outside the cave, there were too many small stones, and the ground was too dry, making it difficult to grow crops there. Meanwhile, he noticed the baby giant bear playing on the ground, making it easier to pick out the stones. He praised the baby giant bear and noticed that his height was almost as close to Sejun's. The baby bear was digging the ground as if they were searching for treasure. Sejun decided that he had to explain everything to him if he was going to stay here. On the 30th floor, Theo was conducting his daily sales of cherry tomatoes. He commenced today's auction with 300 cherry tomatoes of magic, totaling 18 tomatoes. People started bidding, and the tomatoes were sold. Today's collection was a bit less than last time, which he found disappointing. Suddenly, he noticed that team leader Dongshik was there. He informed Theo that he had completed the deal and informed Sejun's parents about his well-being. Theo asked the team leader why he hadn't participated in the cherry tomato auction this time. The team leader explained that he needed something other than cherry tomatoes. This time, he wanted to get a picture together as his daughter liked cats, and in return, he gave him a reward, a red pepper powder essential for South Korean cuisine. Theo tasted it, but it was very spicy, hurting his tongue. Theo then upgraded his bundle so he could store more items in it. The capacity of the bundle was increased, allowing him to fit hundreds more cherry tomatoes. He invested all the incentives he received from Mr. Sejun. Theo noticed a stall selling food items and bought some, getting a discount. He was pleased to get a discount again. While walking, he encountered Zerath, who wanted to repay Theo for what he did last time. However, Theo declined the offer. Zerath suggested having tea together, but he declined that as well. Zerath also mentioned a nearby dessert place owned by a close friend of hers, but Theo informed her that he hated sweet things and rejected the offer. Finally, Zerath started begging Theo on her knees, asking him to teach her the skills he had. Theo agreed as she praised him, calling him the amazing and cool great wandering merchant. When Zerath asked where Theo was going, he invited her to come along, promising to show her some skills. They both went to a place where there were inaccessible or undervalued items, essentially a store to pick items treated as junk. Zerath was curious about what kind of skills Theo was about to show her. All he did was beg for a discount. Theo requested a discount, shocking Zerath, as it was a place where everything was already discounted. The store manager granted Theo a discount, but he wasn't satisfied. They negotiated until settling on a deal for 13 tower coins. Theo was proud of his bargaining skills. Zerath inquired about his purchase, and he went to pick up a hat. Theo bought the hat because he liked it, and Sejun had given him permission to buy whatever he desired. Theo bid farewell to Zerath after showcasing his skills. As Theo left, Zerath suddenly remembered seeing the same hat on the list of stolen items from her office earlier that morning. The carrot flowers yielded seedlings earlier than expected. Sejun decided to plant half of them in the cave and the other half on the upper ground. The rabbits arrived with the fish, signaling mealtime. They opted to make fish soup. Sejun instructed them to clean the fish with a sickle. Simultaneously, Sejun harvested 10 well-ripe magic cherry tomatoes. He received messages indicating an increase in his experience level and the addition of new effects. The new effects made slightly unripe or overripe fruits optimal for harvesting with a low probability. The level of harvested crops could be raised by 1 level. Sejun was pleased with this development. Sejun commenced soup preparation, making it for the mother rabbit. He encouraged her to eat well, even if she lacked appetite. While conversing with the rabbits, Sejun noticed the arrival of the crimson giant baby bear. They all prepared to ascend. With the help of the giant bear mom a few days prior, using a rock as a pulley, they had built a manual elevator. They began their day with the giant baby bear arriving for work in the morning, bringing Sejun to the ground for breakfast. She commended the baby bear for growing stronger, evident in his faster pulling speed compared to yesterday. Sejun pondered whether the bear was genuinely curious to meet him or just eager to eat quickly. Sejun offered the giant baby bear roasted potatoes, which he consumed rapidly. He then kept one and attempted to bury it in the ground. Sejun realized he had learned this behavior from them, leading to laughter as they explained that cooked food doesn't work that way. Suddenly, fish began emerging from the ground, startling everyone. The giant baby bear and the black rabbit played together, their interaction seeming more like training to Sejun. Sejun himself was unsure if it was play or training. Another rabbit brought him carrot juice as he was thirsty. Sejun noticed the bees departing for patrolling, including the queen bee. He inquired about her departure from the cave while she was spawning. She handed something to Sejun before leaving, which turned out to be the cocoon of the poison bee queen. Sejun realized that since the queen bee had recently assumed her role, the hive's power wasn't yet strong. Trusting Sejun, she entrusted him with her cocoon. Sejun resolved to work diligently so that she could emerge as a splendid queen poison bee. He eagerly anticipated the day the cocoon would hatch. Later, Theo returned to the cave and suddenly noticed a crimson giant baby bear roaming around with Sejun's bag. Theo assumed the bear had already killed Sejun. Angered by the wasted time as a sales cat and seeking revenge for his lap, he lunged to attack the baby bear. From beside him, Sejun called out to Theo. Startled, Theo stopped and rushed to Sejun, checking him for any bites. He wondered how Sejun had emerged from the cave, as all of this had occurred while Theo was away for the sale. Everything seemed new to him. Sejun later briefed Theo on what had transpired in his absence, explaining that in return for protection, his mom had agreed to provide them with honey and food. Sejun realized he needed to name the baby bear and decided on Kyung, as the bear seemed to respond positively to the name. Though Theo and the rabbit found it lame, Sejun tried his best to ensure the baby bear liked it, starting to tickle him. Theo intervened, informing Sejun about the coins and missions he had completed. Sejun granted Theo 38 hours as a sales cat. Upon resuming his role as the sales cat, Theo demanded churu. Sejun attempted to feed it to him, but the baby giant bear only licked it. Theo grew angry and tried to attack him, prompting Sejun to intervene. The baby bear started crying loudly, the sound carrying for miles, reaching his mother. She rushed to their location, visibly angry at seeing her son hurt. Sejun realized they were in significant trouble. Hearing her cub crying, the mother bear rushed towards him. She stood in front of Theo, looking very angry. Theo thought he was done for today. With his shaking voice, Theo introduced himself and said that they were just playing, and nothing serious happened. The mother bear growled so loudly that the wind blew with her breath. Sejun came in between and tried explaining to the mother giant bear that it was just a little argument and nothing really happened. The mother bear was convinced by Sejun's words as she trusted him more. She went back to patrolling. Theo was so afraid that he got hiccups. Sejun tried to calm him down. Theo thanked Sejun for saving him, and all the rabbits also consoled him. Watching them, the baby bear also came close and started licking Theo. Theo apologized to the baby bear, and at last, they all were friends. They were all tired, and they slept there, resting against each other. The couple of rabbits saw the hat that Theo brought from the market, and she kept it on Sejun's face so that he didn't feel the sun. Meanwhile, somewhere in the tower, a galaxy-like place was seen where a few dragons were guarding the place and two men standing in the middle trying to do something. The elder one was trying to open the tower. The other one tried to calm him down. This man was Anton Furtani. But the elder one, Kaiser Furtani, couldn't calm down as he could no longer see Aileen. He informed that it's been 10 years and several days since the last seizure, and he was finally able to get the medicine. But the portal doesn't open for some reason. The emergency system of the tower doesn't react either, so there wasn't any other way for them to cross over. Anton informed that the fact the emergency system of the Black Tower didn't work proves that Aileen hasn't had a seizure yet. He informed that they still have time. It seems like they all gathered there for Aileen. All of them seemed to be worried about Aileen, including the dragons present there. Aileen was Anton's daughter, and he had a lot of belief in her that she must be fighting well with the seizure. The Black Tower manager was Aileen. She was busy eating the cherry tomatoes. Suddenly, her heart started beating. It never beat even once in the last 200 years, but now it moved on its own and absorbed mana for a while. Aileen realized that she was supposed to have a seizure by now, but because of the cherry tomatoes, her mana increased slightly. She realized that it was not only good in taste but also had good health factors. It even had the ability to heal a dragon's heart. She realized that now she wanted to protect Park Sejun because of him. Her heartbeat came back. It was just for once, but it meant a lot to Aileen. When Sejun was sleeping, he realized that he can see message from the manager, but it was too close to his face. He wake up from his sleep and he noticed that the tower manager informed him that he was not sure about what the manager was talking about. He realized that there was a straw hat on his head, but he was not aware about that. The rabbits informed that they found it from Theo's bag. Sejun tried to wake up Theo, but he was not in a mood to wake up. Now when he saw the stats, it said that the hat gives protection of Mother Earth. It was a really nice item, but there was usage restriction. The tower manager asked him to give the straw hat so that she appraise it. Aileen took the hat and decided to show off her skills. She used her appraisal skill and the item was appraised. The tower manager then gave a new quest asking Sejun to promise that he will present his crops full of Blue Moon's energy during the next Blue Moon. Sejun realized that it was time for the Blue Moon soon. He agreed to the quest. The tower manager gave Sejun her name and said that he should feel honored that now he knows the tower manager's name. She promised to give his crops to Aileen Furtani. He received the hat back and he noticed that it was an artifact. Sejun was shocked to see the stats of this item. Received several messages about the restrictions which were lifted. He was really happy with this item, and he was really proud of Theo, and granted him to be sales cat for a whole week. Theo was also happy to listen to this. After a while, inside the cave, everybody was sitting and waiting for something. Seems like they were waiting for the couple rabbit to come outside as they were about to have baby rabbits. After a while, the mother rabbit opened the door and came out with 3 rabbits, and the father rabbit also brought 3 rabbits. In total, there were 6 newborn baby rabbits. She and everybody was really happy to see them. He asked Theo to come closer and have a look at them as Theo became an uncle. By being happy with this fact, Theo offered his churu to them. Day 179 ended in the tower and new family members were born somewhere on the 99th floor. There was some monster gathered up and they were discussing about the coming Blue Moon. They were Ox, Demon King, and they decided to eat everything they can in that barren wasteland. Sejun received several messages about the development of the farm. He noticed that there were more flowers than usual. He was wondering if Queuing and his mother were doing well as the 7th Blue Moon was going to come soon. He also noticed that Theo was taking good care of the rabbit babies, and he loved being an uncle. Theo decided to take the rabbit kids out, and Sejun asked them to come back before dinner. As the Blue Moon was going to appear today, everybody started preparing for it. Honeybees and rabbits shut their doors. Sejun also prepared his bag. He saw that Theo was going inside his bundle. Theo informed him that the bundle had a feature that could block the energy of the Blue Moon. He also informed that this bundle was a bit small, but there are other wandering merchants who use bundles that are huge as houses. Sejun gave Theo the queen bee's cocoon. Theo took it and went inside the bundle. The Blue Moon began, and Sejun heard loud noises from outside. He was worried if any other monsters entered their territories. He decided he would use the cherry tomatoes as earplugs, but suddenly he heard loud noises from outside. It was like a cow cry. He wondered if there were any cows on the 99th floor. He also noticed that the Blue Moon energy was more intense today, and the crops were growing with the Blue Moon's energy. When the Blue Moon was gone, Sejun and Theo decided to go out and check the surroundings. Theo thought that it was dangerous to go outside as Queuing and his mom were also not around to protect them. But Sejun thought it would be safe, and they went ahead. They saw footprints of a wild animal. It was huge in size. Sejun checked the texture of the soil. It was different from the usual barren soil. It was not crumbly. It was soft and retained moisture and had the right viscosity, soil full of nutrients. He thought that it was possible to rebuild this wasteland into a bountiful field. While he was checking the land, the tower manager asked him to go back to the cave as it was dangerous for him being outside. He rushed towards the cave. He asked the tower manager if she was doing well. The tower manager asked him not to worry about her and to worry about himself. She ordered him to think about his safety more as a tower farmer. When Sejun reached the cave, he noticed that corn had grown with the Blue Moon's energy in it. It was a corn of stamina containing the energy of the Blue Moon. It was nutritious and delicious. When consumed, the stamina permanently increases by 0.1. The tower manager then reminded him of his promise. Sejun picked up a few crops which were harvested by the Blue Moon and gave them to the tower manager. The tower manager was happy to have the Blue Moon cherry tomatoes. When she ate it, it was very tasty. But the tower manager decided to focus on the flow of her mana. While she was focusing on her mana, she felt a sudden pain and collapsed on the floor. Sejun started cooking the corn with the blue moon's energy in the pot that Sale's cat Theo got the other day. He decided to dry the corn leaves well and make a concoction which would give him one more drink that he could have. The rabbits woke up, but the mother rabbit and the babies were sleeping inside their house. Sejun showed the rabbits the corn with the energy of the blue moon and the cherry tomatoes as well. The father rabbit asked if he could eat the corn all by himself as they would only have the cherry tomatoes, but Sejun couldn't eat all this by himself and decided to have it with everyone together. The corn was cooked well. It looked very delicious. Everybody started eating their food. The father rabbit took some of the cherries for the mother rabbit. Sejun took a bite of the corn and it was delicious. The savory sweetness increased the more he chewed it. When he ate it completely, his stamina increased permanently by 0.1. After finishing his food, he picked up the normal corn. It was devoid of stamina. When consumed, it breaks down 20 grams of fat in the body and increases physical strength by 0.2 for 10 minutes, and it also improves skin elasticity. He thought of his mom and decided as he was going to send some news to his family. He will send this on as well. After a while, Quing and his mom also came back to the cave. He gave the baby bear a bottle of honey and asked that he will bring some roasted fish for his mother later. Theo came out of the cave and decided to go for the sales as he thought of himself as the professional wandering merchant, which was pro among all of the other wandering merchants. Quing decided to drop him till the passageway. Sejun decided that till the time Quing comes back from dropping Theo, he will organize the destroyed field. Meanwhile, the ox demons were gathered together, and their captain was angry at all of them as he sent everybody to bring him food. But all of them came back with just mud. Back in the time, this place was a green meadow full of high-quality grass. Their captain was Black Minotaur. He was the strongest monster in the black tower that guards the waypoint area on the 99th floor. If he didn't replenish the energy exhausted due to the blue moon, he would lose muscles, so he ordered his subordinates to scatter throughout their territory and eat grass during the blue moon. However, the Minotaur race are large monsters with a very strong appetite in the first place, so the rate at which the grass was eaten was much higher than the rate at which it grew. In the end, the place became a barren land where not a single blade of grass grew. The captain was worried that the situation was not good at all, and he had to find a solution for it. Suddenly, the third ox came and apologized for being late. The captain forgave him and said as long as he comes back safe, it was fine. But suddenly he noticed something and went towards him. The third ox was worried by this, but the captain saw a grass with a sweet potato on his horn. The captain asked him about what this was. Meanwhile, in the tower where the tower manager collapsed, she regained her consciousness. She noticed that suddenly her height was increased. She was taller now. The tower manager noticed that her size grew a lot. She noticed that the cherry tomatoes from Blue Moon definitely possessed over 10 times the magical power of ordinary magic cherry tomatoes, and she ate 5 of them together, which caused a chain reaction in her heart and brought about a change to her halted growth. She noticed that the effect was temporary on her heart, but she was sure that her dragon heart could be healed. All this was because of Park Sejun. She saw that Sejun and rabbits were eating tasty things without her. As of now, it was difficult for her to see them as her size grew. The crystal ball seemed small for her, and it was difficult for her to move out of the door. In the cave, all the animals were doing the daily chores, collecting the crops, and cooking them. Sejun steamed a couple of corns in the pot, and the tower manager requested some. Sejun was cooking it and decided to share it with everyone. He found the seasoning that Theo brought earlier. He applied sugar to the corn and grilled it until they were brown, then sprinkled some Parmesan cheese on the cooked corn. And to finish it, he removed the chili powder. He found out that Theo was hiding it from him, but he'll let it slide for this time. Sejun gave 6 of them to Aileen, the tower manager. Everybody started eating it. He noticed that the parent rabbits were feeding the corn to the newborns, but it was difficult for them to do so. Sejun gave it a try and ended up laughing as they started stuffing the corn into their bodies. He was missing Theo. Meanwhile, the soldiers were waiting for Theo to come to the 38th floor. They noticed that people were going crazy outside the tower, buying the cherry tomatoes of magic at an enormous price. A single cherry tomato cost more than 5 lakh won. The team leader decided to leave the minimum number of people to participate in the auction, and the rest of them would get ready to go into the tower. He decided to be here because he was acquainted with the wandering merchant. Theo reached his destination, Wandering Merchant Passageway 60th floor. While entering, an animal was asking for their agency and grade. Theo gave the details and asked to use the ordinary merchant passageway that connects to the 38th floor. From a distance, a few animals were keeping an eye on Theo. Looks like someone sent them to keep an eye on Theo. It was Landlord Grid who was looking for the straw hat which Theo bought from the market. They all gathered their Mercenary Association ID and also entered the passageway. It was the Silver Wolf tribe. Zerath was behind the trees, following their actions. She was confused as to why they were here and why they were after Theo. She also decided to follow them. Everyone was working hard on the farm, all working together to restore the fields on the ground that were damaged during the blue moon. Sejun was happy that the piles of dirt, piled up like hills, disappeared in a flash. He decided to plant some peanut seeds, harvested all the remaining corn in the morning, and leveled up by 6. He was happy that he increased his agility, which boosted his working speed. He was able to plant all the peanut seeds in just a few hours. Also, there was a small change in the seed store. When given options, Sejun decided that peanuts were a good crop that could restore soil fertility. They grow well even in harsh environments on Earth, so he bought peanut seeds. He was able to increase his tier. He was promoted from rookie to commoner. At the commoner tier, 4 types of seeds will be shown randomly. Also, he will be able to purchase as many seeds as he wants within the amount of 5 tower coins. He got greedy. He wanted new and more seeds. The corn plant, which has been harvested once, doesn't fruit again, so they cut them all down and moved them to the ground to cover the area around the field where the peanuts were planted. This was to prevent moisture from evaporating because the sunlight shines all day. The small rabbits were bored, as all the adults used to go outside and work on the ground, and the baby rabbits were alone. Sejun decided to give them some work. He gave them pockets and asked them to give 1 carrot slice to each adult working hard. The baby rabbits started to work as assigned. He thought he'd ask Theo to bring some cute clothes for the baby rabbits. Outside in the barren land, the ox was looking for the grass and root which was found on his horn. The captain ordered him to look for it. The captain ate the sweet potato and went crazy because of its taste. He felt energized, and his muscles were being pumped. But the ox had no memory of him due to the blue moon which happened that night. He was afraid that if he didn't find it, the captain would beat him. Suddenly he got the smell of the grass. He was excited and ate a few of them and collected the rest of them. The mother of the giant bear noticed it and was angry. Meanwhile, the tower manager was relaxing in the spa. The Crimson Giant Bear called the tower manager. The tower manager then informed Sejun that the Crimson Giant detected traces of another monster near the surrounding of the cave. When they came out of the cave, they saw all the corn leaves were gone. Meanwhile, Theo reached the 38th floor. Sejun and the others noticed that the corn leaves were stolen. It was stolen very thoroughly because Sejun didn't hear anything last night. The Crimson Giant Bear informed that it was probably the Haunt Bastard's doing. Sejun wondered if it was the same monster that made the pit during the blue moon. It was fortunate that they only took the leaves that were laid on top and did not destroy the field. Sejun thought they could just bring back the blue moon tomato leaves from the cage and cover them again. The giant bear said she would expand their territory and patrol starting today. Sejun informed her not to overwork and to stay safe and healthy. Sejun was satisfied that no one was hurt, but they still had to prepare. Sejun decided he needed the power to protect himself. Today was the day when the Poison Bee Queen's cocoon would hatch. In the description of the Poison Bee Queen's cocoon, it was described that the first person seeing it would be regarded as the owner. The number of bees in the cave was rapidly increasing. It was about 200 as of now. Sejun was waiting for the bee to hatch. While waiting, Sejun fell asleep, and the queen bee was born. The second generation queen bee regarded Farmer Park Sejun as its owner. Soon, the first queen bee joined them. Sejun woke up and found that the bee was not there. On the other hand, the ox gave the leaves to his captain. The captain noticed that he had not seen these types of grass ever before. He ate the leaves and found them delicious, and they also increased his energy. He was proud of Ox 3. The captain himself wanted to go there and secure as many leaves as he wanted, but the amount of time he could be away from the waypoint was limited. The captain then asked the ox to go and find the origin of these grasses. The ox wanted to take a nap before leaving, but the captain forcibly sent him away. Theo was there on the 38th floor for his sale. He apologized for being late and then introduced the new cherry tomatoes, which were even more special. He informed that these were D-grade magic tomatoes. Everybody tried them and found them real. He started the auction by selling 400 units each, with a total of 2,000 units. The auction started, and everything was sold in a minute. With this, Theo's profit reached over 1,000 coins. He was happy that now he'd become a wandering merchant veteran, and then the restrictions on marking cultivator would be lifted, and he wouldn't have to hide it from Sejun anymore. The girls came again for a photograph. He was sad that there were fewer people, but soon a couple more people joined him and asked to click a selfie with them. They also informed that they got to know about him from social media. Theo sent more money with this. Theo came to know that the pictures the girl took were being uploaded on social media, and he was quite famous there with thousands of followers. The girl apologized that she didn't inform him of this before, but it turned out that Theo wanted her to click more pictures and upload them fast. He gave several poses, and the girl kept clicking. He wanted rewards in return for the photographs. He asked her if anybody wants to meet him, asked them to come to the 38th floor. It was the moment when the best cat star was born. While heading back, Theo was wondering about the incentives and the amount of rewards he'll get if he becomes more famous. He was thinking of being a chairman himself. While he was busy in his own thoughts, he noticed a wind from behind. When he turned back, it was the group of wolves from before. The wolves surrounded him from the sides and asked him if he bought the straw hat at a smithy in the merchant district. The wolves started attacking Theo, and Theo started crying as he thought he was going to die today for sure. But suddenly, a smoke bomb came from the side, and they started coughing because of the smoke. Zerath held Theo's hand and asked him to run with her. The wolves noticed that Theo was running away. The main wolf ordered the rest to go and follow him, but they were all in bad condition because of the smoke, and their mission failed like this. After a while, Theo thanked Zerath for saving him from the wolves, and she said it was herself returning the favor. Theo wanted to repay and asked if she likes grilled fish. Zerath asked Theo to follow her as she knows the quickest route to the merchant district. Theo informed that he first wanted to go to the merchant gate and apply for promotion to a mid-level merchant. She was shocked to hear this as he just joined the wandering merchant a few weeks ago. Theo was suspicious as to how she knew all of this, but she put the blame on Scaram. She saved herself from revealing her true identity. She asked him how he collected so much amount in less time. Zerath was sure that without special support, it was impossible to gather such a large amount in such a short period of time. She wondered what his backing was and what kind of dangerous item he is selling. If that was the case, she decided to arrest him to save the owner of the inspection bureau. Theo informed he was selling cherry tomatoes. Theo informed that everything was sold out for as of now, and he'll show her the skill next time. Zerath found this suspicious. Meanwhile, in the city, the chairman had the D-rank cherry tomatoes. He asked Jenny about the results from planting the magic cherry tomatoes on Earth. She informed that it grew into the typical cherry tomato. He also asked about the results of planting them into the tower. She informed that they have sown 100E grade magic cherry tomatoes on the first floor of the tower, and 10 have successfully germinated and are about to be harvested soon. The chairman was proud of her, and she gave the credit back to the chairman and the technology and goggles know-how. The budget for the tower project farm had already been passed to the board. They were hiring the Awakened to create a farm and push out the surrounding monsters. He was happy that the tower project farm, his long-awaited business which had been halted, is back in operation. He thanked the magic cherry tomatoes. Theo was promoted to a mid-level merchant. He was happy about this. Zerath also congratulated him. He decided to go out to the trading market and buy the necessary items. The trading market in the mid-level merchant area, where wandering merchants can show off their abilities as much as they want. Starting with the auction house where you can bring in good items from farmers or craft workshops on each floor at the best prices, depending on how they can purchase a large number of items and gain maximum profit with minimum loss. Their ability as a merchant is evaluated. This place was on a different level from the junk shop the other day. Zerath was curious about what kind of technique he would use this time. Theo decided to shop from a miscellaneous goods store. He asked for 2 cooking utensils, thread, and a needle set. Zerath asked him if he was not here to buy wholesale items to sell on another floor. Theo clarified that he sells cherry tomatoes. The shopkeeper asked for 2.4 cherry tomatoes. Theo countered it by asking for a discount. The shopkeeper argued about the price a bit and was rigid about his final offer. Theo asked Zerath to let's go from this place, and the shopkeeper, in return, gave him some more discount. But Theo asked for a 1.8 tower coin deal, or he was leaving the shop. The shopkeeper finally agreed to it. Zerath was thinking about what just happened. She started thinking that she was the one who received special education from the family, but she wouldn't have been able to lead this fight this fast. She would have ended it at 2 tower coins. She was thinking of this situation a lot, but it was just Theo who insisted on being given a discount 3 times. Zerath informed that she'd be leaving now. She thanked him for giving her a chance to look back at her arrogance. She also warned him to be careful as he might meet the wolves next time too. Theo found her strange. An assistant asked Zerath that the director wants to schedule a meeting regarding the stolen goods from Landlord Grid. She decided to visit the director's office soon. Zerath handed a piece of paper to her assistant and informed that it was the report on the wandering merchant who was recently under surveillance. She sent the document to the merchant passageway manager and also told him to exclude him from surveillance. In the report, it was mentioned that Theo was a genius at bargaining. Zerath met a real merchant for the first time in a while. Sejun again kept the leaves outside. He thought it'd be safe as the giant bear was on patrol. He noticed that the water was not coming out of the can, though the water can was supposed to be infinite. The black rabbit asked Sejun to see the pond. Upon checking, there were crayfish in the pond. He was thinking of cooking them and drooling at the same time. He decided to fish them with the black rabbit as he didn't want to lose the opportunity to get the protein. They began the hunting of the crayfish. He acquired 30 XP for defeating a crayfish. The black rabbit also helped him in hunting them. The father rabbit used the sickle to cut the fish, however, as their shells are hard, it was difficult to cut them unless they are cooked. Sejun decided to wrap them in green onion and grill them. It made delicious. The salty scent of the crustacean was emanating into the cave. It was red in color and was cooked well. Sejun showed the rabbit the proper way to eat it. He gave one to each of them. Everybody started eating it and found it really delicious. He showed them many other ways of eating the crayfish. The black rabbit also tried it and found it amazing. Kyung came to the cave. Sejun brought some of the fish for Kyung and showed him also the correct way of eating it. On the outskirts of the second floor of the tower, in Skeleton Village, the warriors were fighting with the skeleton monsters. They were crushing the skulls of skeleton monsters. The vice chairman came to the same floor. It seemed like they were securing the land for a large farm. The soldier informed about the current situations of the land and how they have mobilized all mercenaries and have seized more than half of the skeleton villages on the second floor. The vice chairman asked about the time period it will take to cover the whole land. The warrior informed about a few months. The vice chairman then showed a message where they took over the debts of those who took out private loans and awakened them with a ticket and had them sign a lifetime contract with them. He also informed that they don't need to get out of the tower, so this should be enough. The vice chairman gave him a week's time and asked him to focus on securing the farmland. The vice chairman was then shown the growth of the cherry tomatoes as it has reached its peak. He tasted it and suddenly regretted it. He then shouted at all the scientists working there and informed them that it was nowhere near to the cherry tomatoes. Even though they added all the highest quality nutritional supplements, still it was not tasting like the real cherry tomatoes made by Sejun. The vice chairman crushed the cherry tomatoes below his foot but noticed that there were no seeds. Meanwhile, Sejun was sleeping. An ox snuck into the field again. The vice chairman was looking at the cherry tomatoes and wondering that without seeds, cultivation was impossible. He remembered something that happened 10 years ago, around the time when he entered the tower. Not long after it appeared, he was lucky enough to have entered the tower through vanishing. His younger self had his dream come true, having seen the rich and spacious land inside the tower. The sky where the sun never sets 24 hours a day. Good quality land. He thought if he could just grow crops in the tower, dominating the global food market would not be just a dream anymore. Before that happened, he had leveled up to a certain extent and left the tower, and he went to the company right away to convince his father at that time. Everything was going smoothly. That was the start of the tower farming project, but the problems arose unexpectedly. Not even a single seed was growing. Even though he invested an imaginable amount of money in hundreds of different seeds over the year to create the best environment in the tower, not even a single one of them was growing. Research showed that the awakened lose their reproductive abilities the moment they enter the tower, and losing fertility goes the same for plants. There was no way that the level-up seeds were coming from outside. He had to find another way. That's when he thought of using the crops that were born and grown inside the tower. He asked several merchants for the seeds, but they denied him because they are all monopolized by a greedy guy called Grid on the 55th floor, and he only climbed up to the 10th floor. He used up a lot of money and was treated as an incompetent son by his father and the board of directors. In front of the tall wall of the tower, his dreams of the tower farming project collapsed in vain just like that. He asked to gather every hunter on the 38th floor, and he ordered them to purchase every D-rank cherry tomato from the merchant cat. He now decided to cultivate D-rank cherry tomatoes as they might get a different result if the grade is higher. When Theo was walking back, he saw the leaves of spring onion on the floor. He saw it in several places. While collecting them, he saw the ox eating it. Theo blamed him for stealing the grass, and the ox denied it by saying that it was just thrown down on the ground, and he just picked it up, and he didn't steal it. They both had a heated argument about who was right, and Theo asked him to come and talk to Sejun and ask him who was right and who was wrong. The ox decided to go as he was asked by his captain to check where the leaves came from. Theo reached the cave and asked Sejun to wake up as he was sleeping and informed him that he found the thief. Sejun was shocked to see the ox, and he remembered that the giant bear was talking about this ox. Upon being asked by Theo about the grass, Sejun confirmed that he did not just throw the grass, he kept it here on the ground to save the moisture from evaporating. The ox was ashamed and apologized as he was not aware of the same, but Sejun asked for 100 tower coins instead of a normal apology. While Theo and Sejun's confrontation with the ox uncovered deeper secrets lurking within the tower's ecosystem. And what role will the D-rank cherry tomatoes play in the vice chairman's desperate quest for agricultural success? The tower's mysteries are deep. Let's see what happens ahead. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.